Hi, welcome back to McClatchy Maths. My name is Natalie McClatchy and today we are continuing our second video in our PSMT series, and this is a new one. We're going to look specifically in this particular video at how to get started on writing that PSMT. Where do you begin? What do you do first? And then we'll have a very quick chat about what's coming up next. Okay, let's talk now about how to get started on your assignment. This is where a lot of people feel really overwhelmed. I see this all the time with students. They feel really overwhelmed. They've got this task sheet and they just don't know what to do to start. I would say the very first thing that you should do is get into Word and set a report up. You could just simply set up all the subheadings. So start by doing a title page. A lot of people spend a lot of time with a big fancy picture. It's not worth any marks, not really worth wasting your time on it. But if that makes you feel good, like you're getting a start, by all means do it. Title pages are not included in your word count or your page count. So that's something to be aware of as well. A contents page is also a good idea. You can actually have Word set those up for you. And if you're not sure how to do that, just Google, how do I set up a contents page in Word? And what that will do is every time you add a new title, it'll add it to the contents page and it'll update your page numbers as well, which is kind of handy. It's also not included in your page count. Then what I would do next if I was writing my very first PSMT is I would put all my subheadings in. So I would have my introduction, I'd have my procedure, I'd have my considerations, observations and assumptions, and so on. And if you're not sure what subheadings to use, I've given you some great ideas at the beginning of this video, but you could also jump onto the QCAA exemplars on their website and use the subheadings that they've used. Your appendices, it's important that you get those set up, but they are also not counted in your word count and not counted in your page count. And on the topic of appendices are not marked. So it's really, really important that any critical information that you need to be marked, like your original graphs, like your calculations, they need to be in the body of your assignment. If you stick them in the appendix, you're going to lose marks because they don't get marked. But you need to have appendices, and we'll talk more about those in our solve sections of our videos. Also a good idea to simply insert your page numbers as part of your footer when you're getting started. That really helps people to organise themselves a lot better. It helps your teacher to see where your information is as well. And you could put your name and your teacher's name in the header, and that makes it very easy to organise things as well. So this is a great little page here. You might want to take a little snapshot of this. This is how you should get started. This will probably take you maybe 10 minutes, and it'll just make you feel as though you're making a little bit of progress. Helps you get directed. Okay, what I would do next is then I would get my diary out and I would put those key dates from your task sheet straight into your diary. Any monitoring dates, any draft dates, any submission dates. I pop those in there, and that would help me then plan towards what I'm going to do by which date. Then I would have a look at my marking guide. And the best way to understand that is to watch all the videos in this playlist. I know there's 10 of them, but watch the videos. It'll help you explain how you're going to get full marks for your PSMT, because when we get full marks for our PSMTs, it really helps our grade overall. And then what I would do is I would have a look at any key information on my task sheet, and I would highlight that with a highlighter or underline it or put an asterisk next to it. It's also really important not to ignore the PSMT flowchart at the back. Sometimes there's key information in there. Some schools just lift the one straight off the QCAA's website and they don't add to it, and that's fine. Other schools actually modify that and tailor it towards your specific task. And if they've done that, there could be key information in there. I know, for example, my school sometimes will have on the flowchart what needs to be included in the appendix and what needs to be included in the body. So it's really important you don't miss that extra information. You need to ask yourself questions like, should you have your full data set or your full sample in your body or your appendix? This might be, if it's not on your task sheet, a good question to ask your teacher. Now what I mean by that is, let's say your teacher's provided you with 200 data points and you had to select a sample. You've chosen 30 data points. Personally, I would like to see those 30 data points in the body of the assignment so I know what is being measured. But your teacher might be quite happy for you to put that sample in your appendix as long as you refer to it in the body. So just talk with your teacher. Where are they expecting to see your data set? You need to talk to them about your original and hand-drawn graphs, or if you've done scale drawings. Now, typically what I typically expect as a teacher is that students will do an original graph on graph paper, and that they will scan that graph in to the body of their assignment, and then that graph actually gets marked. However, I also have an expectation that they would then attach the original drawing that they've hand drawn on the graph paper at the back of the assignment as an appendix. And one of the reasons that I have that expectation is that firstly, if I have trouble reading the graph, because I always struggle, I have my glasses, if I can't read the actual graph that they've scanned in, well then I have the original at the back to have a look at. That's one great reason. The second reason is that it helps me to decide if you've actually done the work yourself. If there's no actual hand-drawn graph attached at the back, it opens up your assignment to questions about plagiarism. Have you actually just copied somebody else's assignment? So providing that original graph at the back of your assignment in the appendix is a great idea. But this is the time when you're getting started to ask your teacher about what their expectations are, not what Mrs. McClatchy's expectations are. Also, this is a good time before you get started, just have a little research of the context. Doesn't mean you have to go into a deep dive on the internet for hours and hours trying to understand forensic anthropology or anything like that, but it's just a good idea just to get a little bit of an overview of, if there's unfamiliar terms in the assignment or unfamiliar context. For example, if it's a garden renovation, you've never done a garden renovation before, and you know that there might be a shed that might have to be erected. Well, you might just go on to, say, a Bunnings website and have a look at maybe a short video on how do they put sheds up. And that might tell you, oh, okay, I need to get a concrete slab, and I might need to have that kit delivered to my house, so there might be these additional charges that I need to think about. So that will help you, if you're actually doing a little bit of research about the context, to think about all of the different aspects of the assignment. It might also help you to develop some of those observations and assumptions too. I would say as well that you need a really strong understanding of your mathematical content that you need to solve the problem. And this is where some of the weaker students get unstuck. A lot of students are so focused on feeling scared about the fact that they have to write an assignment for maths that they actually don't remember, well, actually, I also need to be able to do the maths part of the assignment as well. So if it's an assignment, for example, on trigonometry, and you don't really understand the basics of trigonometry, now's the time to nail that with your teacher or with a tutor, or to get online and look at some videos on how to do basic trigonometry. Because if you don't understand the basic mathematics of what you need to do to solve your problem, then you're not going to get a great mark for solve. So it's important we get that nailed before we start the writing part. I would say as well, if there's anything on your task sheet that you don't understand, ask your teacher, ask questions. I find one of the things that I find really concerning as a teacher is there's just not enough questions sometimes. Sometimes I'll talk about this PSMT task to the class and I'll say, are there any questions? And no one puts their hand up. And from one perspective, I think, oh, that's great, I must have explained that really well. But then sometimes when the assignments come in their draft form, it's very clear that they actually didn't understand particular aspects at all, but they just didn't ask questions. So don't be that person. Ask questions if there's something you need to clarify. And then I would say the next thing I would do to get started would be to break the task up into small chunks. And your subheadings that you've created would be great ways to break it up into chunks. And set yourself small, achievable deadlines to complete them. So for example, if it's 2 weeks' time for your first draft to go to your teacher, maybe on day 1, you're going to set yourself the task to set the Word document up. And day 2, you're going to write your introduction paragraph. Maybe day 3, you set yourself the task to write your observations and assumptions. And then day 4, you set the task, and so on. So break it up into small chunks that you can do, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then it's not this onerous, horrible, big tasks that you have to cram and do the night before, because nobody ever does that with their PSMT. So I would say break it up into small chunks, be organized, do a little bit every day, and it won't be the big task that you think it's going to be. Also, you could ask somebody to hold you accountable to those deadlines. So a great person to do that is mum or dad, perhaps an older brother or sister, or even a friend at school, and say, you know what, I've set myself up these tasks, but sometimes it's hard to stick to things that we've said we're going to do. So you could say to that person in your home, could you just check in with me each night and make sure I've spent 15 minutes on my PSMT today? And I'm sure somebody in your life will be more than happy to check in with you and make sure you've done that. And if you don't have anybody that's willing to do that for you, set an alarm on your phone or something so that each day at the same time it reminds you, do this on your PSMT today, do that on your PSMT today. Okay, let's have a very quick talk about what's coming up on McClutchy Maths. The next 2 videos are on observations and assumptions, which I find is where a lot of people really come unstuck and just don't know what they're doing. So if that's you, go and watch those videos. That will save your life. And then I've got some videos on solve, some videos on evaluate, and some videos on communicate as well. And I would like to say thank you so much. If you are one of our regular viewers and you've come back to see this video again, welcome back to the channel. And all of our subscribers, thank you so much for being a part of the McClutchy Maths journey. And if you're not a subscriber, it's not that hard. Just hit the like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. That's a great place to find out when new videos are being released, and we often have other content there as well. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your teacher or share it with a friend. It's always good to share the love and tell somebody this really saved my life. Thank you so much then for joining me there. And if you have any questions about this video or anything else on the channel, you can always email me at mcclutchymaths@yahoo.com. You can also direct message on Facebook and Instagram. I am pretty prompt and pretty organized, so I do get back to people pretty quickly. Well, thank you so much for joining me here at McClutchy Maths. I hope this video has really saved your PSMT. Have a wonderful day.